Hi, everybody. We are so excited to have so many people joining us. Welcome to Design Disruptors. Tonight is our second of 3 conversations in celebration of MoMA Design Store's pop-up Design Innovations for Women. I am Samantha Krupnick, and I manage events for MoMA Design Store, and we're just so thrilled to have you all here. Before we get started with tonight's talk, I wanted to let you know a few things. If we can just jump to the next slide. We, first of all, want to encourage everyone to use the chat tonight during the talk. Ask questions, share observations, or for any technical help you might have. If everyone can find the chat in their Zoom and tell us where they're joining us from, that would be great. We'd love to know. Myself, Alex, and Maggie are on hand from MoMA Retail, and we'll be answering questions about the pop-up or topics related to it. We'll also have Evelyn and Stephen from MoMA Audiovisual to help with any technical questions you have that come in through the chat. We'll do our best to answer questions in the chat during the talk, but we'll also be earmarking a few for the Q&A at the end of the talk. Attendee microphones and video will be off during the webinar. The talk is being recorded tonight, and we will post it to the MoMA Design Store YouTube in the coming days. The one we did on August 31st is already there if you weren't able to join us for that one. This program is being transcribed this evening using the automatic captioning software Rev. To view the live transcription, click the closed caption button on your screen, then show subtitles. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Che Costello, who is one of the buyers who put together the pop-up Design Innovations for Women and our own Associate Director of Merchandising for MoMA Retail.
Good evening. It's so wonderful to have you all here with us tonight to join our discussion about activity for all women. I'm really excited to introduce our guests. We have Lisa Lindell, the inventor of the sports bra, entrepreneur, and author, most recently of Unleash the Girls, the untold story of the invention of the sports bra and how it changed the world and me. I'm also delighted to welcome Katie Storino, a body neutrality activist and the founder of Megababe, a line of body care products designed to tackle taboo body issues and enable us all to feel more comfortable and confident. And also welcoming Atia Taylor, the founder and editor-in-chief of Womanly Magazine, which provides accessible health information to women and non-binary people through visual and literary arts. Welcome all. I'm so happy to have you here. So we were inspired to have this discussion about the role of design in making activity accessible to all women by our current pop-up in our MoMA Soho store and online, Design Innovations for Women. It's this suite of products that celebrate women designers seeking to eliminate stigma and empower women through a direct and open conversation about our bodies and their unique needs. And I'd love to share a little bit of background from a design perspective about how we kind of got to this topic and the history of MoMA and the way it's looked at design over time. So the Museum of Modern Art is the first museum in the world to have a curatorial department dedicated to modern architecture and design. And it dates back to the 1930s. And it was truly groundbreaking back then to invite visitors to the museum, and they would experience design objects, and they would look at design as being as important to our cultural heritage as more traditional art forms like painting and sculpture. And through the decades, MoMA has been active in bringing new design concepts to the public, concepts that surprise people and expand our thinking of what good design is and the role it plays in our lives. I wanted to touch upon a couple of designs from the past that help kind of tee up our discussion for tonight. In 1962, MoMA had an exhibition called Design for Sport. And it was really surprising when people came to visit MoMA. It had 100 objects out in the sculpture garden, under tents, everything from baseball bats to hockey mitts. But it was really looking at athletic objects in the terms of like form and function and good design and how they improve our everyday lives. Another exhibition that was really informative when we were thinking about Innovative Designs for Women was Paula Antonelli's 2017 exhibition, Items as Fashion Modern, that looked at 111 items of clothing and accessories that were really important to the culture of the 20th and 21st century. So looking at the things we put on our body is holding an important cultural currency. And among the designs featured there were the burkini, the Fitbit, the hoodie, the tracksuit, sneakers. And you see here, when you enter the exhibition, there's the Wonder Bra kind of greeting you. So in this tradition of looking at design as a reflection of, or even a vehicle for cultural impact, we were inspired to create this suite of design innovations for women. And one of the areas we wanted to focus on, and that we're talking about tonight, is activity, because of how critical the role of designers has been in addressing the real world needs for women and girls in activity. So we think about activity for women and girls, and we know an active lifestyle is good for your heart health and maintaining healthy bones and muscles and joints. But what are some of the maybe less expected benefits to that? Atia, I'd love to throw this to you because I've been reading some articles in Womanly that kind of hit upon this topic. You're on mute.
Thank you. So in our last issue, we worked on stress. We tend to work on issues that we hear from our audience and our readers, what they need, what they're looking for, and stress was a huge one. People are really looking for ways to relieve everyday stress, whether that's from the pandemic or that's from bills or whatever, having children. So we focused in on a lot of the ways to relieve stress, and one of those ways for relieving stress is physical activity. I think many people know this to be true, but I think there's a way that especially design can inspire people to feel more active, whether that's through a sports bra, a new design for a sports bra, or a painting of someone that looks like you doing an exercise that you've never seen before. So there's just so many ways that we can inspire people to feel active and comfortable in their own skin, no matter what their body type is or their gender. We can really inspire people to be active and see themselves in the design and artwork to help them be more comfortable and more explorative in what they do as an activity, because there's just so many different ways to exercise and to be active. It's not just running and doing yoga.
I think also we have this idea in our head of like the elite athlete, the ultimate competitor. And Lisa, I enjoyed reading your book. It was my summer reading. I went through it in like a day, but I was really moved by what you had to say about why you ran and what it did for you.
Well, because I started off, I was not athletic at all. I was not friends with my body at all. And I began running actually to lose weight, or so I thought, but I became friends with my body through running, and it became for me actually my first spiritual practice, because it did so much more for me than changing my body. And that's some of what I write about in the book, but it was really such a transformative thing to be able to be active. And I was terrible. When I started, I could not go around a track that was 1/10 of a mile around. I could not do it. And when I went around 10 times and actually completed a mile, it was like I had completed the Olympics. I mean, I was so excited. And that sense of achievement, of overcoming all those obstacles in my head, did so much for me beyond what it was doing for my body. And that was just the beginning. So activity is so important, whether it's, as Atia said, whether it's running or walking or swimming, climbing trees even.
Katie, I would love to hear a little bit about your initiative, Babe Body, and what was behind the inspiration of that.
Yeah, my dear friend Hunter McGrady, who is a Sports Illustrated swimsuit model, we noticed that there's a real intimidation factor with boutique fitness. So people have interest in going to a Barry's boot camp or a Soul Cycle, but as soon as they walk in, they see one type of body, they see matching workout sets, and everyone's in their sports bra and they all have washboard abs, and they feel like, well, I don't belong here. And this is women, this isn't just plus size women, this is any woman who doesn't have this specific physique. So we started Babe Body by approaching these boutique fitness places and hosting classes where, you know, every single person in that class is coming in with Babe Body. So it's a different energy. It's a welcoming energy. It's like Hunter and I, we're in the front. We're not like hiding in the back. We're taking off our shirts. We're right away showing our bodies. And it's like, it's just more of an empowering energy to be in, rather than feeling like, why am I here? Why am I even trying?
Yeah, I feel like we've surfaced some really amazing alternate benefits, everything from like stress release to a personal meditation to having a sense of community that helps support you, which leads to the important question of accessibility, right? Who gets to be active then? It's beneficial to everybody, but who gets to be active, and how could design play a role in broadening that accessibility? And Lisa, I'd love to ask you to talk a little bit about the climate of the times in which you invented the sports bra and what was happening around then.
It was a really strange and tumultuous time. It was the early 1970s when I started running. And in 1972, Title IX was passed. And Title IX said that any institution that received it was from the Department of Education. It said that any institution that received federal funds could not discriminate on the basis of sex. And that was big because it really affected athletic programs. All these universities and colleges that had these sports, you know, football and basketball, and all of a sudden they had to have put the same amount of money towards athletics for women and girls. And this really changed the scene. So that was one thing that was happening. Women's rights were going on. It was a time when women were burning their bras, and their mini skirts were going up, pantyhose was coming in, and it was, you know, the Summer of Love was 1969. And so as a generation, my generation, we were changing all the rules, but nobody knew what the new rules were. There weren't any rules. So you were making it up as you went along.
In your book, I love the parallel you make between the kind of women's liberation movement and then the jogging craze that was happening in the 1970s.
Well, yeah, I mean, because actually it took off, this running craze, and it was wonderful because you could just go out your door, you know, and yet it was mostly guys in the beginning, and then women started doing it. And I remember going out to run, and you didn't need much except your right shoes. And it was a wonderful thing to do, except the only part of you that was really uncomfortable were your breasts. I mean, they're bouncing, they're flouncing, your nipples were getting chafed. And if you were small enough to run braless, they still chafed. It was still uncomfortable. So Title IX said, okay, you had to have sports and teams for women and girls. So that allowed that to happen, but it couldn't remove the discomfort and the self-consciousness of those women and girls who wanted to go onto the field or wanted to go out, but they would get hoots and hollers or they would be uncomfortable. So the sports bra actually did help with that discomfort and with that self-consciousness. I didn't know it would do that. I was just solving my own problem, but it was a 1-2 punch that really made it possible for women and girls to not just run, but walk, and play lacrosse, to play volleyball, and also to do that stripping off that Katie's talking about, take off their shirt, because I tell you what, in the 1970s, nobody was doing that. I mean, Madonna came out singing, and in her bullet-shaped bra corset outfit, but that was scandalous at the time.
Well, Lisa, we all owe you a debt of gratitude. And for the MoMA pop-up, we even made our own MoMA sports bra, which we think of as our love letter to you personally. So thank you.
That is so fabulous. So fun.
Atia, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about the role design could play in making activity more accessible both to people of color and non-binary folk. You're on mute.
I'm sorry, I keep doing this. It's as if I've never been on Zoom. Okay, so yeah, I think our work with Womanly and just generally in my life, I've seen a lot of people, especially in my own life, in my family, we just have a hard time getting in touch with our bodies, whether that's through trauma or just generational the inability to connect with ourselves through generations. And I've seen that from a perspective of I've wanted to connect with my body, whether that's through activity or through understanding gender and sexuality and just so many things, even since I was a kid. So it was always me trying to push towards that and realizing how far we haven't come as a society and really understanding our bodies and moving forward with just accepting who we are and how we move and just shame. And I think a lot of people live in shame if they're not a certain size or, a certain color or a certain height even. So really what we did with Womanly was make a publication that was celebratory of whatever it is that you are and whoever you want to be. So whether that's a non-binary person or a trans woman, and through design and art, we really hope to connect with people on a level that met them where they are. So we allow a lot of writers and visual artists and just people in different scenarios to write for the magazine and to submit, because we're nothing without the communities that we serve who are really going through these things and teaching us a lot about what it means to struggle or need help or push forward in a certain way in their lives. So we've been learning a lot from our readers in terms of what color palettes and what stories go next to what artwork, and where different artworks come in terms of our next issue is on nutrition. So understanding what food apartheid means versus bulimia. So really trying to use design in a way that makes people feel comfortable and able to access things that make them feel closer to home or their culture or their body type or identity.
Katie, when you were talking about, trying to reach your community and give people a sense of like freedom to be active, have you had any feedback from your kind of audience that people who didn't think things were open to them, they felt was opened up through your designs and products?
Absolutely. I think, I mean, through our exercise initiative, through Babe Body, I think I've had a lot of IRL experiences with people where they're coming face to face for the first time and feeling comfortable in a room full of women, moving their bodies. And that's very powerful. And then I think because of our product Thigh Rescue, which is for thigh chafe, I've heard from so many women that it was the first time that they were able to wear shorts or skirts in the summer comfortably. And then that giving that type of freedom to someone to like add all those different things into their wardrobe and not feel ashamed and not feel uncomfortable. I think that those messages come in daily, and that's the whole reason I do all of this, because it's incredible.
I think what's exciting to me about having the three of you here to talk to is there's this through line where you all were solving a personal problem or addressing a need that you saw, and then it became, at least for a time, your life's work. And I would love to hear you talk about the problems you were solving and when you realized it was bigger than just solving your own problem.
I mean, I could speak to that for sure. I definitely saw the numbers alone, just looking at research. I work at Planned Parenthood and doing research on abortion access and understanding where women, especially women of color, Black women, are dying because of racism and inattention to detail and just so many systemic things that make our lives so much harder. And I couldn't I didn't like that. So I wanted to do something. But I'm an artist. So for me, it was, how do I find a way to do this work without feeling super depressed all the time and sad? It is really hard work to look at the numbers and try to figure out how to help people on a larger scale, because there's no one answer and there's a lot of work to do. But we roll our sleeves up. And I think looking at magazines in general, women's health magazines, I wasn't seeing myself. I wasn't seeing my friends or my culture. I was really tired of that. And I worked in print and was writing for a long time. And it just kind of popped up to do something on my own, to combat some of these really dangerous displays of what health is and what it means to be healthy and what it means to be fit or, nutritious. So I really wanted to challenge and disrupt what it meant to have a magazine or a print publication or anything really that people see themselves in out in the world.
I wanted to add something. I just wanted to add something to what you just said. I think it's interesting in terms of the bodies that I find with curvier, bigger, plus size bodies that people feel like they have the right to comment on your body out loud on the internet, like just coming up to you on the street. That's happened to me my whole life. I know it's happened to many people. It's very interesting that the automatic assumption is that you are unhealthy and I'm here to fix you. And I just identified with that. I said it out loud. That's it.
And Katie, also your journey in solving a personal problem and bringing it to everyone else, was it a smooth one?
Oh, yeah, yes. I think that I have thighs that chafe, and every summer when it gets hot out, I would say, what am I going to do this summer? I tried it all. I tried the lace bands that go around your thighs. I tried powder. I tried deodorant. I tried so many different things that I found to be either not that effective or embarrassing. And I think that's the whole thing, is that big beauty didn't want to touch thigh chafe because they thought it was a niche problem, which I hate. It's my least favorite thing when anyone says it to me. I'm like, it's not niche. It's the majority of the population that experiences this. So that was one thing that I had to overcome with talking to people about the business. And then I didn't understand why everything on the market was made for men or made for athletes, and nothing was just made for this very common problem that made you feel empowered and that worked. And that was
How
clean.
did you find it? How did you develop the special mixture?
I went to a lab. I started to talk to different people, and I don't know anything about product development. And I talked to my sister, because my sister's better with business than I am. And I said, sister, do this company with me. She said, okay. Talked to my best friend. She was like, yeah, I'll do this with you. So we just found a lab, and I know I have a strong like design aesthetic that I like, which is bold and fun. And I just wanted to make something that when women pulled it out of their handbags, that they weren't embarrassed, and that people weren't like, what's this gross thing you have? It was like, it's this, I wish I had it here. I don't. It's the stick that
I don't have that, but I do have Sunny Pits.
Yes, Sunny Pits, our
Great.
deodorant. Yeah, that's the thing. So, and then we built on that and went into boob sweat and melasma, and if you've got a problem, we're looking to solve it. So that's been amazing for me.
You know, when I heard you talking, I was also getting a sense of this other through line of sisterhood, because when you were talking about talking to your sister on the phone, in Lisa's book, she talks about talking to her sister on the phone and about solving the boob jogging snare, and her friend helped her design the bra. And Atiya's working with a whole group of women to try to make health information accessible. I think that's an important thing to notice too. And Lisa, I'd love to hear, you talk a little bit about this problem you were solving, how it suddenly became a business that took over your life for some time.
It certainly took over my life for quite a while. Well, it is so interesting that when you do identify a problem and you decide, I'm going to solve this. I'm not going to put up with this. I mean, that's a big thing to realize. I'm not going to put up with this. I'm going to solve it. And in my case, it started as a joke, like, why isn't there a jock strap for women was the joke, and different part of the anatomy, but same idea. And moving it into a business, it was definitely collaborative and understanding what I was good at, ideas, marketing, but really the idea part, and find, I don't sew. Here I was, I had an idea for a garment, but I don't sew. So I went to, like Katie, I went to a friend who did sew and could help me pull this idea into a fabric and elastic concept, and then find another person who could help with the money, and find the manufacturer. And again, the collaboration, who's good at what, and being able to know what you're not good at and what you don't want to do, and find others to help with that and move it forward. I had no idea. I mean, I thought I was naive. I thought, well, if I want this, I bet other people do. Other women might want this. I had no idea the scale, no idea. Right away, it was huge and did take over my life, my partner's life. I went from I'm fond of saying I was married to the business. I was married to a man when it started. I got divorced and was really just married to the business for a lot of years. And I grew so much. I don't know if you are finding this, Katie and Atia, but I grew so much from running a business. Learned about relationships, other kinds of relationships, and about myself. Learned about myself tremendously. It's really something, but I had no idea the impact that this product, this sports bra, would have in so many other ways. Not just that it solved a problem for bouncing boobs, but it empowered so many other women and girls to go out and discover themselves as active women. And I mean, it's just astounding to me. I'm humbled, actually.
And I feel like part of all these stories is taking something that was underserved because it was a taboo. And if we don't talk about something or acknowledge it, we can't solve the problems around it. And I'd love to talk a little bit about design's role in sort of removing some of the taboo, even with regard to like packaging and advertising. I think we have a slide about design's role in kind of breaking taboos that it would be fun to look at as we discuss. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so in the upper left-hand corner, you see there's two women running. The one to the right is Lisa, right? That's an early jog bra ad. Could you walk us through how you looked at marketing and packaging to try to break through the taboos you were encountering?
Well, I was clear from the very beginning that this was not lingerie. That all a woman needed to do to run was her shoes and adequate breast support. So this was not going to be being sold in department stores or lingerie stores. We went into sporting goods. And that was, speaking of breaking taboos, walking into a sporting goods store and saying, we want you to sell this bra. And the men did not want to carry a bra. And that's why you see the sort of packaging that we did all the way to the right there, that it was a box that they could hang on their walls. And it's this box similar to the way jock straps came packaged. Our first packaging was actually plastic bag, but so that was that taboo, if you will, selling a bra in sporting goods stores, which was a traditionally male domain at the time. But also, I don't know, Che, that it's really about breaking taboos as much as it is that design really brings forward the taboo and says, here it is, deal with it. And, like when Brandy Chastain whipped her t-shirt off at the end of the World Cup, and there she was in her sports bra. That really was when everyone started running just in their sports bra or walking or doing whatever and not bothering to wear a shirt. So
Yeah. I like that idea that it's not about breaking the taboo. It's just about, like, frankly acknowledging what it is.
yeah.
Something that were taken with when we started pulling together a lot of the products for design innovations for women was this really elevated, though, and beautiful types of packaging that made them seem like they would fit more seamlessly in a design store or a department store, not like in like the shame aisle of a pharmacy or something like that. We have an image here of Billy's razor, which was the first razor company to actually show hair, a women's razor that has hair on it. And of course, Mega Babe, which has a really beautiful design. Katie, could you talk a little bit about how you were inspired to design your products? You mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I'd love to hear a little more.
Yes, I just knew from my own experiences that I wanted something that was fun and celebratory and bright and happy, and not depressing, medical, or frankly just the things that I found out there. D's nuts for her, like, black packaging with a big her in pink on it, like these disgusting things that I'm like, this is it. This is what we're supposed to use for sweat and for chafe. So I really wanted something that was cool.
And Atia, and Womanly, when you're looking at the kind of your design, how does that play into it?
Yeah, we have such an incredible design team on Womanly. Our art director is just so in touch with, like, my vision for what we're trying to do. When I was a kid, I used to like those magazines highlights. So I got to play and do these fun games, and I didn't realize I was learning. And so that was the idea behind Womanly. It's like, what if we had this fun game? Adults like games. We like to play, do crosswords, and we like to see fun pictures. So I think with this, especially like designs like this, our really great illustrator, Ali Felino, did some really beautiful images that you don't typically see. I mean, a lot of the pamphlets, the medical pamphlets or anything that you get at the doctor's office is so sterile and so stock imagey. Why isn't art a bigger part of these initiatives that we have? Who wants to look at a brick of text all the time when trying to learn about heart disease or even just working out? So it's been really fun to explore new ways without even sharing, a woman's body. We always kind of make it this beautiful, sweaty woman. And sometimes it's not bad. Sometimes it's a fun illustration for people. Sometimes it's a woman climbing a mountain in an illustration.
Atia, when we were talking previously, you said something that kind of stuck with me, which is that both physical activity and design kind of have the power to take women out of a moment and into a next moment or something along those lines.
Yeah. I mean, I think from my experience, because I've just been always so drawn to art, especially print, and the ways that we can mix design and health together have yet to be explored in this world. I think there's a lot we can do in terms of public health and information. And even, I mean, I love Mega Babe. I love your design. And I'm just so excited about all of the Billy coming out. I mean, that was so recent. When I first saw this company with hair, I'm like, I have hair. We've had hair. We've had red blood forever. And yet companies are showing us blue liquid forever. So I think that we have so much opportunity in design and in this world. I'm so excited for this pop-up because it explores this moment we're in as women, as people of color, as people that aren't a size 4, trans women. We have this opportunity to not only see ourselves, but be a part of this moment, make things. And I think people are really inspired right now to break through this capitalistic machine that has made us feel like we've had to fit in these boxes. We don't have to do that anymore.
when we were pulling together this product assortment, we thought about trans women, but also very much trans men. People who menstruate or might want to breastfeed or might need a bra, but don't identify as being a woman, which was an important factor for us to think about as well, which I think leads nicely to, what is the future? What would we like to see the future be for design in women and activity? What would be the next horizon, you hope? I think we have a slide as well, just to give us some inspiration there. Oh, well, this is a great slide, which is just kind of highlighting, the sports bra and its potential for empowering women and so Lisa, I'd love if you could talk a little bit about your compression bra, about the future of things to think about.
I would love to talk about that. This has to do with, it was originally designed primarily for breast cancer survivors who developed lymphedema, which is swelling through the chest, breast, and back area. And there was no, when we developed this, Dr. Leslie Bell and I, it was her idea. She was treating breast cancer patients, and there was no compression garment that covered the chest and breast. There were sleeves and there were gloves called gauntlets, but nothing. And she was jerry-rigging old sports bras for her patients. And so she contacted me and said, you have to help me design something. And this compression garment, it's really, if I do say so myself, quite brilliant. And can be used for anything that that requires compression around the chest, open heart surgery, any kind of surgery around there. And it's available through Jovi Pack now, who makes a lot of other lymphedema related products. And this came out in 2000, I think we finally launched in 2000 and 2001. So it's been around for a while now, but this is one of those taboo things. Nobody really was talking about it until we launched this product. That the term truncal lymphedema really wasn't even in the literature. Now everybody talks about truncal lymphedema. So this is the Belize Compressor Comfort Bra, and it's, I've had women, and so has Leslie, call and say, thank you so much, thank you. It would be so painful, women couldn't even stand the vibrations of riding in a car, let alone one woman who got in touch with us and said she loved her horses and horseback riding, and she, after having breast cancer, she couldn't do that anymore until she found this. So
yeah, and I think when we were working on this design innovations for women, I think there's a big need for more good design around menopause and post-menopause. As when we were all talking previously, we were talking about how we all have relationships with our bodies, and it changes over time.
It so changes. I mean, when we talk about the future of design, the elderly body has different design needs in so many ways, and I keep waiting. I keep waiting for more
we're here
design
talking
around
about
that.
it now, and hopefully it'll happen. We're beginning the discussion. Atia, where would your fantasy be of the next frontier?
Yeah, I mean, I think from the perspective of a curator and designer and editor, I'd love to see us keep reaching. As Lisa mentioned, the older women have different needs than a younger woman, and trans women have different needs than cis hetero women. So I mean, as much as we can keep reaching and remove the shame and the stigma from anything, because there's just so many ways that we connect. And once we remove that weird lens of embarrassment from things, we start to realize how much easier our lives can be, and how much more accepted we feel, and how much more there is to explore about our own selves, our own bodies. And And I just think we don't recognize how much of a spectrum we're on in general as humans. We're just across the board. There's not A and B. There's all kinds of ways that we can explore ourselves and humanity. So design has the role of exploring, going deeper, and catapulting some of the needs and ideas that are maybe silenced or marginalized quite a bit. It has the chance to, put it on display, put it out there, be shocking, be daring, be dangerous.
I was really excited when we have an image here of the Nike Victory Swim collection, and that was Nike's swimwear that was designed for Muslim observant women so they could have, the same benefits of swimming even competitively and still, observe their traditions, which I thought was something that was inspiring to me. Is a great direction to be moving in. As part of the Design Innovations for Women, we're carrying the Capster, which is in MoMA's collection, which is sports headwear for Muslim women. And the one we're carrying is the FIFA approved one for on the field sports. Katie, where would you like to see design go?
Well, we're in an awkward time we're in a really exciting time and a really awkward time because you've got the internet basically that's producing the trends and pushing the narrative forward. And then you have corporations and large clothing companies and large beauty companies that need to catch up. So it's an awkward thing to watch as everyone struggles how to figure it out. But I think that the really exciting thing is that even 3 years ago, things that like people wouldn't talk about or casting campaigns that you never would have thought would have happened are happening. And I think that can only lead to good things.
Agreed. So we have a lot of questions from our audience. So I'm just going to break into those. So what about considering designs for women of different shapes and sizes? Designers have been phobic about catering to plus size women. So what do you all think on that topic?
I think it's interesting because you have so many people that are being pushed right now I have this series called Make My Size, where I just go and I shop somewhere, put on the biggest piece of clothing they have, and show the internet how far away it is from fitting my body. So if they stop at a 10, and the shirt is this far open, I quite clearly can't wear their clothes, and I'm just about the average size woman in our country. So I don't know where I was going with this, but
You're for it. You're for
yes.
Well,
yeah.
We were really excited to carry aisle period underwear because they have a very broad size range, and they also have some non-gendered styles like the boy shorts, so that you can feel comfortable wearing it in a gender fluid position. Okay, so what activities do you feel are underrepresented in the market? I think that's a really interesting one. Tia, we were talking about how sometimes seeing visibility of people who look like you or you could relate to performing different sports make you realize it's accessible to you when you didn't think it was. Are there areas of activity that should be open to everybody that need to be opened?
Yeah, I think through a lot of as Katie mentioned, the internet drives trends and things. I think people tend to feel kind of left out from these things. Like yoga has been, it's an ancient practice that's been totally taken over by capitalism and branded as this, fun thing to do if you're thin and you're on the mountaintop or something. And I think a lot of people think it's not for them, or that they can't afford it, when you could do this for free. There's a lot of things that you can do at home for free, or in your neighborhood running. I think it's dangerous because actually I'm gonna mention I don't remember her name, but she does yoga on Instagram, and she's plus size, and it's just so beautiful.
Jessamine Stanley.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That's her, yeah.
And I saw that for the first time, like when I first started Womanly, and I'm like, this is the future. This is incredible. Moving your body, any size, any shape in your backyard. And I was just so inspired by the DIY culture of exercise. You don't need a fancy yoga class to.
Which right now is really important because we're all sort of quarantining and having access to any kind of physical activity gives you all of those good benefits of stress release. And we have a question for you, Lisa.
Oh.
Now that the sports bra is 40 plus years old and ubiquitous, what are you most surprised by in relation to how it has influenced women?
I'm surprised that it has so influenced women. As I said, I didn't think it would have such an impact, but I'm really happy that it has, because it so freed and empowered me. And I didn't realize that my own personal experience was going to be so ubiquitous, that so many other people, other women, or people that would have that experience. And I think that's wonderful. I don't know if I answered the question. But.
Well, I think it's also interesting to think about the sports bra was the sort of, the predecessor of this whole athleisure industry.
Well, yes, yeah. It is credited with seeding the athleisure. The whole fashion industry got a lot looser and a lot more casual, and athleisure became. People are wearing their yoga pants and their sports bra to do their grocery shopping,
It's like $100 billion plus business now.
Yes.
And I think we all are aligned in wanting it to just become more inclusive, right?
Well, but one of the things to say is that it also has very much free. I find when I speak to younger women that their idea of comfort and ease and how they can go out into the world is so much looser and more free than how I grew up.
I'd love for you to share about what your mother told you about sweating.
Oh, right. When I was growing up, my mother said, horses sweat, men perspire, women glow.
And now we have Katie making boob powder to acknowledge the fact that women do sweat and they sweat in their boobs and it's okay.
Right,
we can solve that. Yeah.
So one of the things, I think one of the spin-offs of one of the impacts of the sports bra has been that women take for granted that they're to be comfortable and that they don't have to lift and separate and have a certain profile. And, it has, and I think that is wonderful. I had no idea.
Yeah, I'm seeing a great comment someone just added about kind of breaking the connection between fitness and conformity, which I think is a really nice way of looking at it. Like it belongs to everybody and it doesn't have to fit into this kind of little. So some folks are looking for some advice about first prototypes. If they have an idea, how would you suggest they go about it?
Oh, ignore me?
You and Katie, I guess, because you both had to do the prototype job, yeah.
Ignore the naysayers. Listen to yourself, and seek help where it's needed, and keep going, persevering. There's this old saying, success is 10% talent and 90% sweat or glow. And that's true. That is true. Persevere. I had a big sign over my desk, persevere. Katie, what do you say?
That's it. Listen to yourself. Keep going.
Yeah. Here's a great question. I think we're all realizing in this pandemic that our jobs are all consuming. How do you motivate yourself and stay creative? Tia?
Yeah. Well, I'm a musician and I also work full time as on top of doing Womanly. So I've been nothing but busy during this thing. And for me personally, being busy is good because I get to work My answer is hopefully you can do a thing that makes you feel happy, because working in women's health, whether it's writing or finding art or making a magazine or even trying to run a business, I know it's my dream. My dream is to do this work that I'm doing, and I feel really passionate about it. So it's hard for me to walk away. Some days I'm really tired. Some days I can't do this anymore. But the next day I wake up and I'm like, wow, I get to do this. I get to do the thing I love the most, which is help women and, curate art.
And there's some questions, if you guys are willing to answer, that during the pandemic, what activities have you guys been doing to kind of keep yourselves going?
Being in nature, being in the beauty of the natural world is number one for me.
Doesn't it feel different than it ever felt before during these days? I feel like almost this like passionate enthrallment with the tree.
It was always there. It's just taking the time to notice it,
Yeah.
which the pandemic has afforded us.
Yeah. I don't know. It's been really hard.
Yeah, it is hard. It is, yeah.
Yeah, it's been hard. I was in Maine for a while, and then it was easier to connect with nature. And now I'm at my parents' house. Before I got on this call, I had my entire family, yelling at me about finishing dinner and where's my makeup. So it's hard. It's chaotic.
Well, and it sounds so trite, but any form of meditation, and that's it, like yoga. Meditation has been commercialized and blah, blah, blah. And really all it is sitting quietly for a minute and breathing.
I actually meditate every day, but I do it to go to sleep. So that it's like a chore. I just put it on and then
Same, yeah. Because
Exactly.
sleeping is a little challenging these days too. So a little meditation right before sleep is helpful.
Exactly. It's really, things are often much more simple than we think they should be.
And when we were talking previously, we were talking a little bit about the importance of women telling their stories. How do you all feel about making so much of your personal life part of your public life?
I do it, but it makes me very uncomfortable. But I think it's very important for women to tell their own stories in their own voices, because for too long, it's been other people telling those stories.
I feel the same way, Lisa. I mean, it's been hard to, I've generally been a very kind of introverted, quiet person my whole life. And then suddenly I had this business that was very public facing, and it changed me. And there were moments where I'd be like, no, but I recognized how much it was impacting other women, and they were feeling, it's okay to say you're on medication. I go to therapy because I don't have it all together. And sometimes people just need to hear that. And I'd get people in my DMs like, hey, I've been thinking about this, or I've been having this issue. Thank you for sharing. So you realize the impact just your voice has on helping people say something out loud to themselves. Sometimes you just have to take responsibility.
That's a great point, because that's all part of your body too, right? Like your psychological well-being. And Lisa, you haven't mentioned, but you've had if you don't mind.
No, I just, when Atia was speaking, I thought, I need to say, I've had epilepsy all my life. And part of what running did for me was, when I said I wasn't friendly with my body, it's because my body would regularly betray me when I'd have a seizure. And I've been on medication all my life. And there were no expectations for me growing up that I would, everybody was happy if somebody would just marry me and take care of me. So the fact that I had a successful business, that I have patents, that I live independently, and my story has been very inspirational for a lot of other people who have epilepsy. And that's the other reason why I feel it's important to tell my story. Because when I saw eyes light up in the audience, wow, maybe I can have a life, so I have to tell my story. So thank you, Che, for reminding me to.
Yeah, it was a very moving element in the book. So, Katie, how about you? How do you feel about the kind of public-private balance and giving so much of yourself?
You have to get over it because it is awkward and you're like, well, who cares? It's just me. But when you start to hear from women that you're helping them change their own lives, you become empowered to say, okay, I continue to be an open book because every day I'm helping someone. And that's the narrative with being a plus size woman can be, I'm single, this is all because of my weight. Like there's a lot of negativity surrounding having a curvy body. And so just by being happy, you can inspire people to just like work on accepting themselves and moving on and having a great positive life.
Lisa, in your book, you kind of talk about, I like the way you phrase like this butterfly effect of, you know, how solving this problem for yourself or this design put you in, first of all, it puts women in a position, like if you're physically active, you feel more confident and you can be more confident in other things in your life. But have you all also used your work to promote other women and give them opportunities?
Well, I know at Jogbra, yes, absolutely. I mean, many of the women that worked with me at Jogbra went on to own their own businesses. One of them's way up there in corporate land. You know, it's part of running your own business is empowering other women to become who they can be. One of the products of the Jogbra business was other empowered women, absolutely. And that was so satisfying. Don't you find that, Katie?
It froze for a second, but every Friday I do female founders. If you are a woman with a business or a story to tell, I am just here. I'm here for women. That's what makes it all worth it.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I grew up in Philadelphia public school system with a lot of kids who didn't have money. And a lot of the times was super self-aware as a kid that I knew I wanted to not feel like a product of this environment that wanted to keep me down. And now as I've grown older, I've realized a lot of people, for whatever reason, weren't given a chance, didn't have the opportunities I had. So from on that level, I like to show people that no matter where you come from, how much money you had, or what color your skin is, you can do crazy, great things. Like I'm so honored to be on this panel tonight.
We're honored to have you.
Crazy. And then on Womanly, we constantly feature founders, and Shay, you were on our blog recently. So we just love having anyone who's doing something positive and trying to, you know, do something for themselves, or, you know, share their art or share the work they do. We are always welcoming new people.
When we started doing this whole project, Design Innovations for Women, we knew we couldn't pull together like all of the great designs, but we wanted to pull together enough to create this dialogue and this conversation, to create something that we hope keeps going on. So I am truly honored to have all of you here tonight and my wonderful guests. I'm honored, and it was a wonderful experience. And I hope we all keep the dialogue and the conversation going.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys. Talk soon. Take care.